Hello, welcome to On Wrestling. I'm Adam. This is the weekly review where I review the main wrestling shows that I watched this week. So this week we'll be reviewing Collision and Dynamite like last week. This week is a special edition of Dynamite Maximum Carnage. So looking forward to checking that out. We also announced a new series called Match Monday where I review a match that I watched on the weekend. And that can be from any match, from any promotion. So I'd love any recommendations in the comments or any of the other social media posts we do. If you can like, share, and subscribe, that'd be great. And also check out our other socials, which will be located here. And let's get into the Collision review. So this week on Collision, we opened with the Death Riders versus Skyflight, and we actually had a combination of Death Riders of Daniel Garcia, Pac, Wheeler Yuta, and the Skyflight was Dante Martin, Darius Martin, and Scorpio Sky. So what I enjoyed about this match was we had Mox on commentary. Always enjoy Mox on commentary. I think he adds a lot. And we also saw with Skyflight this week, Zeta Steel making her AEW debut as part of that new faction. So excited to see what Zeta Steel can do. And with this match, there was a lot of back and forth. This combination of the Death Riders, to me, is geared around the submission game with Garcia, Yuta, and Pac. They're all really good at bringing that submission, the technical wrestling side of it, slowing the match down, where, Top Flight going to bring the top rope game, and they're going to sort of take it to the air. And it was really good to me, it was a good mix of different styles, and I would like to see Top Flight get a shot this year at the Tag Champs and actually have a run winning the belts, and in Ring of Honor, that is, and build there, and then hopefully, use that as a platform to win the tag titles in AEW in the future. With this one, we had Pac getting the submission win, which is not surprising the way that the Death Riders was configured for this match. So the next match we had was Brody King, and it was a squash match, but I prefer to call this a Brody King Destroy match. And we had this on both Collision and Dynamite this week, so I'm just going to combine those two together here. He is headed towards Bandito. There's a match coming. Will he turn against him? I think so. I'm not sure exactly when yet, but I definitely think that match for the world title will be happening soon. And I do feel like it could be time for Brody King to win there. So, Brody King being positioned as a single star in 2026. The next match we had on Collision was my match of the night for Collision, which was El Clon versus Commander. I really enjoyed this match. To me, they were matched for height and speed. I really enjoyed their chemistry. What I love about Commander is the way that he has a moveset that, from the top rope, he can get the crowd going, and you saw that in this match. This match had all sorts of things. We had working the knee. There was some work on both wrestlers' knees. We saw some really good chops, and we saw the runners. So we saw the poison runners, the hurricane runners. So I really enjoyed that, and this definitely was my favorite match of Collision. Klein getting the win here via the portal bomb, and very much enjoyed this match. The next match for Collision was Marina Shirakawa versus Lady Frost. So this one started with a bit of a mystery. There was a presentation of flowers to Mina. So we've got a little bit going on there. I'm not sure who that could be yet, but I'm interested to find out what you think. And we'll see how that sort of evolves on social media too. It was really good to see Lady Frost back. I really enjoy her style. I enjoy that combination of the gymnastics background, but that can lead to her doing some really good kicks and just the way that she moves around the ring and the top ropes and turnbuckle and things like that. So this one ended with Mina getting the win with the spinning back fist that led into the figure four lock. So enjoyable there, and I think I'd like to see more of Lady Frost in 2026. So the next match was the TNT title match, and this was set up on previous week's Collision episode where there was a match between Hechicero and Commander. So we had Mark Briscoe here defending. So I really enjoy Mark Briscoe's work. So I had seen him previously in Ring of Honor, but it wasn't really until that trilogy between the Briscoes and FDR that I really started to grow a true appreciation of his work. That trilogy is great, and I'd love to review that again because I haven't really watched them since that original trilogy happened on those Ring of Honor pay-per-views. So it's definitely something I might look at doing for Match Monday in the future. One thing I love about Mark Briscoe is, when he brings the chair into the ring, the energy that he can bring to the crowd because they know the setup's coming. One particular spot I enjoyed was when Briscoe dived off the outside and then Hechicero turned that into an armbar. I really enjoyed that because I didn't expect that. And even in the match, we had dueling chants for both Briscoe and Hechicero. One thing I liked about Hechicero's work in this match was how he really worked the arm, and that ended up weakening the Froggy Bow. So I like that tactician style, that technical prowess that Hechicero has, who is now also All Elite, as announced yesterday. So that's very exciting for him with the dual contract with CMLL. Mark Briscoe ends up winning this match with the J Driller, and I enjoyed this match, and I look forward to seeing what Mark Briscoe does next with the TNT title. I love the open challenges of the TNT title. I think that's unique to that belt, and I think that's something that they need to continue. The next match we had was the Babes of Wrath and Chris Statlander versus Hyan, Maya World, and Verd Vixen. So if this match was essentially based around the Cosmic Babes of Wrath getting a preparation match for the Triangle of Madness, which we'll talk about today in our Dynamite review. So what I enjoyed in this match was the combination moves of the Cosmic Babes of Wrath on Vert Vixen. That part where they were running and hitting her was quite enjoyable, and it was really good to see Maya World and Hyan again. I'm hoping they'll get a win as a tag team soon, probably on Collision. But I also thought it was a really good showcase for Vert Vixen, and I really think she made the most of her minutes here. So hope to see her again, most likely on Ring of Honor platform. But start with the win here and good preparation for their match for Dynamite. The event this week of Collision was The Demand, and that combination being Bishop Khan, Ricochet, and Toa Leona, and they were against Anthony Bowen and Jet Speed, Kevin Knight, and Mike Bailey. So this was an opportunity for Jet Speed to get back at The Demand for how they took him out the previous week. Last week we saw Jet Speed teaming up with Jungle Jack, this week with Anthony Bowens, and I enjoyed the work here of especially of Gates of Agony bringing the power, Ricochet bringing the speed. In the end here, we had Gates of Agony getting the pin on Bowen. And then in the end of this match, to end Collision, we ended up with a lot of chaos in the ring as well with Caster, the Don Callis family. We saw the conglomeration and Commander all in the ring. So bit of a fun sort of way, chaos end to end Collision. So that was the matches and my thoughts on Collision this week. Let me know what you thought in the comments on the socials. And now we'll jump into the Dynamite review. So this week on Dynamite, we opened up with Darby Allin versus Pac, and I must say this venue looked great. I love the setup of this venue. I love the seating, the way it was positioned. I loved the screens, how they did that. Just the sound as well. You could really feel the crowd inside. So I really love that. And what was great too is we got to see more of that venue at the start because Pac and Darby were in the crowd. So I really enjoyed that. Darby, every spine in the world felt that bump when he went into the steps. I think 7 billion spines. Anytime in the match we had Darby coming back, Pac would throw him around, ragdoll him. I really enjoy Pac as a wrestler. He's one of my favorites in AEW, especially since the triple threat match back when he had that with Kenny and Orange Cassidy. I think in 2020 a Double or Nothing there at Daly's place has been a big favourite of mine. We saw Darby with multiple coffin drops on the outside A thoroughly enjoyable match, and the way that it ended was that Darby used a chair on the ankle of Pac, and then proceeded to lock in the Scorpion Death Lock to win that. So really enjoyed that match. They are two of my favorites in AEW, and interested to see where Darby now goes with the Death Riders from here. So the next match we had Adam Page versus Brian Keith, and I said last week I would like to see more of Brian Keith, and we got that this week. So that's great. I do see online there's a graphic that goes around of a combination of Hangman, Brian Keith, and Bandito, and I do think that would be a really fun trio to have in the future. I have no idea what we would call them, but I think that would be a really good Western motif. I can imagine the music for that being really fun as well. So this was a lot of back and forth. There were some good strikes, some kicks, some lariats. What do you expect from these two? One stage Swerve got involved taking out Big Bill, and that then led to Hangman using the buckshot lariat to get the win over Brian Keith. So enjoyed that match, and we'll see where that leads now in the main event scene between Hangman and Swerve. The next match that I'm going to cover for Dynamite was a tag match. It was a number one four-way tag match to face FTR. Now, I really enjoyed this match. We had Davis and Doyle in their debut. We had the Gates of Agony, Jet Speed, and the Young Bucks. So with this, we had Young Bucks and Jet Speed bringing the speed, where you had Davis and Doyle and the Gates of Agony bringing the strength, and that was prominent throughout the match. Some of the things I really enjoyed was the reverse powerbomb of the BTE trigger. I also enjoyed when Davis and Doyle used the Bill as well, and when Speedball used the Ultima Weapon combination with the Knight's UFO splash as well. So these are some of the spots that I enjoyed, but I enjoyed towards the end there when Doyle countered Speedball with a very smooth catch and then pick up. Doyle must have incredible core strength to be able to pick him up so smoothly and then throw him to the outside, which then led to Davis getting the win with the pile driver. And I thought this was a really good showcase for Doyle and Davis, and I'm really looking forward to that match with FTR. FDR, and I think Doyle and Davis, they'll have a really good back and forth. They'll be very gritty. It'll be chops. It'll be fists. It'll be power bombs. It'll be all that. And a really good showing there for Davis and Doyle, and looking forward to seeing more from them in the future. So the next match was the Cosmic Babes of Wrath versus the Triangle of Madness, and that, of course, is Julia Hart, Sky Blue, and Tekla. So with this match here, I really enjoyed the back and forth. I feel like these trios have got good chemistry with and against each other. They have wrestled each other a number of times recently in different combinations, so you can tell that in the match. I'm a big fan of Tekla. That in AEW, she really fits the style of AEW, and her getting the pin here basically saved Willow, which then led to Tekla getting the spear and then getting the pin. So Tekla is definitely, to me, on the road to Revolution, I believe, whether that be TBS, but I do believe it will be against Statlander for the world title. And this stage, I am thinking that she will be a very good chance of actually beating Statlander at Revolution if that's where the match takes place. And I'd really look forward to seeing her reign there. With Julia Hart and Sky Blue, I feel they're on the pathway to getting another tag title match, and I do think that this year they will win the tag titles. The combinations that they have, I think, are good for tag wrestling, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in 2026. So the final match of Dynamite, and probably I think the match of the week, was MJF versus Bandito for the world title. So this match was set up from Bandito winning the Dynamite Diamond Ring. So just from the start, Bandito comes out with great gear. Definitely one of the highlights 2025 is Bandito's entrances. You just don't know what gear he's going to come out with. And I think that's really enjoyable. What I love in AEW is when we have title matches like this, the way they do the lighting for the announcements. That blue lighting, how it comes down over the ring, makes it feel special. And I just think they just need to keep that as a stable and see if they can enhance it any way they can. This was definitely going to see a power game from Bandito versus MJF's heel tactics, which I quite enjoy. MJF, I always enjoy his heel tactics. It just seems to have a spell on me when he's wrestling. It just makes me laugh, makes me smile. This we saw in this match a lot of MJF working Bandito's left arm, as we know that MJF's finisher, Salt of the Earth, is one of his core finishes, along with the Heat Seeker, for example. So we saw a lot of working the left arm in this match. I quite enjoyed the spot when Bandito leaped off the top rope over the barricade onto MJF, and I also really enjoyed Bandito's shooting star press as well. He's very clean and smooth with that. I love when he goes to the top, whether that's a frog splash or shooting star press. They're really enjoyable. So 21 plex here was hit, but because of the work done by MJF in the match on that arm, Bandito wasn't able to get the pin as quickly as he would have liked. And that then led to Max getting the Salt of the Earth locked in, which I quite enjoyed that. In the end, MJF does get the win here with the label lock, which I thought was an interesting choice. Obviously, Danielson on commentary as well, and he's calling it the label lock and the yes lock. I love that sort of callback. If that was a callback to Danielson in any way, I did really enjoy back in Revolution when they had that 60-minute Iron Man match too. Something I'd also like to do another review on down the track, maybe in preparation for Revolution coming up in March. Might be a good one to review again. So in the end, MJF gets the win. He also praises Bandito, saying about him being a world champ, which is something I agree with, and I would really enjoy that, seeing him on that journey to win the AEW World title, and then holding it, and then of course then he tries to attack him with taking off his mask, and Brody King making the save there. So that's how Dynamite ended for this week. 'Week for AEW on Collision, we'll see a World Trios match between Hangman Adam Page, Jet Speed versus the Op. So looking forward to seeing that one. We'll see Andrade El Idolo versus Angelico. So looking forward to that. We'll see a tag match between Eddie Kingston Ortiz versus the Grizzled Young Veterans. So looking forward to seeing that match. Maria Shafir versus Zeta Steel. Looking forward to seeing Zeta Steel's AEW ring debut. This one I'm looking forward to a lot is Don Callis' family of Elklon, Josh Alexander and Kyle Fletcher versus Skyflight. I'm very excited to see Kyle Fletcher back again. Then we're going to have a tag match for Megan Bain and Penelope Ford. So I'm looking forward to seeing Penelope Ford back in the ring. It's great to see her return from her injury. And then there will be an AEW National Title #1 contender match between Jungle Jack Perry and Anthony Bowing. So I think that could be a really good match. I'm looking forward to that. And then for Dynamite, so far we've only got Kenny Omega versus Josh Alexander announced. I say only, but I am looking forward to that one. It's a match that's been teased for about back 5 years ago in TNA as well. So I'm really looking forward to that one. So that's my review for AEW Collision Dynamite this week. We'll catch you next week on Match Monday, and back again this time next week for the weekly review.